Where am I? Mawile? Mawile. Whoa. Who are you guys? Who are you? Do I know you? What is going on, guys? So yes, we are back with another deep dive. Well, I can't really say another. We are back with our first deep dive of the Sinister Cup. So yeah, it's been a while, and I'm sorry. Okay. If you want a little bit more of an explanation, I'll include that at the very end of the video. But I'm not going to bore anyone who doesn't care with it. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. So today we're actually going to be starting out with Mawile, who is a Steel and Fairy type Pokemon, maxing out at 1634, which is a great CP to max out at for the Great League. Now I do have two different IV spreads here because Mawile can be min-maxed pretty hard if you trade it off. So this is considered the wild stat spread in terms of, like, if you look it up through the PvP bot in the Discord server or using Go Stadium. It's basically considered the wild catch, but as far as I can remember, you can't catch a Mawile in the wild. It seems like there was something that you could encounter them maybe, but just in case, I'm writing traded there because I feel like that's a little bit more accurate for now. Basically, you'd have to trade with someone who you are a great friend with, so it'd be a pretty hefty cost to get this, and to get this exact stat spread with that trade is going to be even harder. So it probably is going to be a lot easier to go for this one, which is the raid/egg one. So a 10, 13, 15 at level 36.5 does yield a 1497. That's actually going to be the top stat product for that particular IV category because you can't get lower than 10 out of a raid or an egg. That's kind of what you're looking for. But if you go for the wild or the traded one, 15 at 40 does give you a clean 1500, which is going to look amazing in your Pokebox. And according to my numbers and all my spreadsheets that I, yes, have updated with all of Gen 5 and yes, all of the Sinister Cup stuff, Mawile is actually 55th in bulk and 46th in stat products. So that's actually not horrible. I mean, it's kind of not like amazing. It's more of like on a little bit of the top end, but not like as high as you'd want it to be. But hey, we know that this doesn't actually tell the whole story, that these right here can make or break the Pokemon. But of course, all of this right here does actually come from our base stats with a 155 on attack, 141 on defense, and a 137 on stamina. Mawile actually is looking pretty decent, I gotta say. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like Mawile. I've liked Mawile for a while, pun intended. But unfortunately, the cup just hasn't been right for Mawile to shine. Now let's actually transition into our moves here. So we do have Astonish and Bite as our two fast moves. Unfortunately, neither of those are stat candidates, which ends up meaning that we're kind of out of the gate, not going to be able to push as much damage as we'd like to, but Bite here is actually doing a pretty hefty bit of damage. So Astonish for 3 energy at a 1.66 damage per turn. That's actually not horrible. If you are more of the kamikaze, I like to get to my charge moves super quick. Astonish is going to get you there a lot faster than Bite is going to, but you are going to forfeit a ton of damage per turn. So it's not really something that you got to kind of weigh your pros and cons to that. It just depends on how you like to play. And then Bite here for 2 energy per turn for 4 damage per turn. That is actually a more solid overall move, I think, than Astonish, but it does kind of lack in the energy compared to Astonish, but you get a whopping 4 damage per turn, which is actually really, really nice. And plus, in this cup, if we're looking at Astonish, so Astonish is going to be able to hit the Ghost for super effective, the Psychic for super effective, which is okay. Bite here is going to be able to hit the Ghost for super effective, the Psychics for super effective, so it's okay. It really just kind of depends on which way you want to run it. Personally, for me, and for the rest of this video, I would go with Bite. That's just my opinion. But you could definitely go with Astonish if you're more living on the edge kind of guy. Next, moving into our charge moves here, we do have Iron Head for 50 energy. We get 70 damage at a 1.4 damage per energy ratio. Now, because we do carry that steel typing, we do get stab here, which boosts it to an 84 damage for a 1.68 on the damage per energy ratio, or basically our efficiency. So Iron Head is decent. It's not really like amazing. For only 50 energy though, it's got a decent payoff. I wouldn't be too ashamed to run that. Play Rough here for 60 energy, we get 90 damage at a 1.5 damage per energy ratio. It does get stabbed because we do carry that fairy typing there for a 108 on the damage for a 1.8 on the damage per energy ratio. It's just weird that those numbers work out like that. Either way, Play Rough, still a pretty solid move. It does cost a little bit more than Iron Head, but it does have a way better payoff though. Last but not least, we do have Vice Grip, which I feel like is going to be the redheaded stepchild of most of these moves here. So Vice Grip for 40 energy, 40 damage, and a 1.0. It's pretty vanilla. It's even a normal type move, so it's pretty normal. Either way though, Vice Grip is kind of one of those like high risk, high reward type moves for me. I feel like it's high risk because it's abominable freaking damage for a horrible ratio here. But it could be pretty nice to have a move that you can just kind of spam out. Even if you're going to do resisted damage up against the ghosts, up against the steel types, it's going to be one of those uphill battle type moves, but I think that it could really pour on some shield pressure if that's what your team is kind of lacking. Because as we all know, if you don't have a whole lot of shield pressure or even something to shield bait with, it kind of can put you in an awkward position sometimes. So definitely think about Vice Grip, think about how you could use it to its maximum potential. For the purposes of this video though, we're gonna kind of stay away from Vice Grip. We're actually gonna go with Bite, Iron Head, and Play Rough because I feel like it's the best well-rounded moveset for trying to get an idea on how well Mawile performs. So now let's actually check into some shield scenarios with Mawile here. So we actually have our 0 versus 0, which is a 21.7, up against the entire meta, which is around 23 Pokemon as defined by PvPoke. That's pretty bad. I've got to say, that's pretty horrible. But in the 2 versus 0, we actually go all the way up to 91.3%. But as you guys may remember, we're not actually too worried about the ones that we win against. We're actually worried about the ones that still end up beating us if we have 2 full shields. And those Pokemon are going to be the Mudshot, Poliwrath, and Lucario. And both of those are kind of not surprising. Mudshot, Poliwrath, even though Mudshot is going to be kind of awkward on the damage, it's going to be really high energy gain, but it is going to still be super effective if I can mental math that right. And Lucario is just going to have insane damage output anyways with Power Up Punch. I mean, Poliwrath still has Power Up Punch as well, but I mean, Lucario counter Power Up Punch is going to be insane. So kind of not too surprising there. Next, in our 0 versus 2, we actually end up with a 13% even. Still unfortunate, but it is at least double digits, which is what I like to see here. So we actually have wins up against Haunter, Lugia, and Cresselia. So some pretty big names right there. Cresselia seems to be the one that everybody has kind of jumped onto as saying, oh my god, we can use Cresselia, let's get it done. It's just kind of one of those that everybody's kind of jumping on, which is, I mean, completely okay. Cresselia, super high bulk, super amazing in terms of the great leak viability, but Mawile actually has a pretty good chance at beating it even if Cresselia has both shields. So think about that. That's actually what I think Mawile really starts to put its foot down and get a hold on the meta. Next, in the 2v2, we actually end up with a 52.2%. So comparing opening versus closing, if we have 2 full shields for both Pokemon versus 0 shields for both Pokemon, we definitely prefer to open there. Unfortunately, even if we open, it's still pretty much a 50-50 chance on whether we're going to survive or not. So, kind of awkward, unfortunately. Next, we're actually going to look at a little bit more confined shield scenarios, ones that you're more likely to encounter, like the 0 versus 1. We actually end up with a clean 13% here again. And you kind of see the exact same Pokemon from the 0 versus 2 here. We have Haunter, Lugia, and Cresselia. So what that actually ends up meaning is that it doesn't matter how many shields those 3 Pokemon have. We are basically a great counter for those 3 Pokemon. Amazing. Perfect. I love it. Next, we'll move into the 1 versus 0, which is actually a 60.9%. And unfortunately, we do lose quite a few of these matchups. Even if we have 2 full shields, we have quite a few Pokemon that we lose up against. Probopass, Bastiodon, Steelix, Poliwrath, That's both of those, Mudshot and Bubble. Lucario, Medicham, and Hitmonchan. Unfortunately, there's quite a list of Pokemon that we lose up against in the 0 versus 1. So unfortunately, I think that kind of gives Mawile this interesting spot where I definitely wouldn't open with Mawile, but I definitely wouldn't try to keep it as a closer either. It's kind of one of those specialist picks. Like if you see that the opponent's team has maybe a Haunter, a Lugia, and a Cresselia, maybe that actually makes a lot of sense to bring in Mawile as that middle pick to where you can kind of throw it in if they switch lock into one of those 3 Pokemon. Because then you're actually going to be in a really, really good position. But unfortunately, if you get caught opening with Mawile, or if you get caught with closing with Mawile, there's a ton of Pokemon that just kind of, unfortunately, give you a run for your money. Our last shield scenario is, of course, the exact 1v1, which is where we're going to transition into the matches here, which is a clean 39.1%. So not too hot. It is kind of close to the 50% mark, but unfortunately, it's still not amazing. So now let's actually transition into those matchups here, which do utilize that 1v1 shield scenario. So up against the entire meta, if we break down all of the Pokemon that we're going up against, we actually have wins up against Lugia, Alolan Raichu, Haunter, Banette, Claydol, Cresselia, Drifbloom, Bronzong, and Gardevoir. If we look at our losses, we technically tie up against ourselves, so let's just go ahead and mention that. But losing, we actually have losses up against Alolan Marowak, Dusclops, Gallade, Empoleon, Bastiodon, Probopass, Lucario, Steelix, Toxicroak, Medicham, Hitmonchan, and both variants of Poliwrath. We kind of do lose a lot more there, but you can kind of start to see what Pokemon end up being decent targets if you're running Mawile. Lugia, Haunter, and Cresselia definitely going to be the top 3 targets that you want to go for in terms of your targets, but Alolan Raichu, kind of interesting. Since it does carry that psychic typing, it's gonna be okay to go up against that, especially if you're running Bite. Actually, if you run Bite or Astonish. Bite, of course, is going to be more punishing, but either way, you're going to be able to do super effective damage there. Banette, also going to be pretty good. It basically comes down to the Pokemon that you can do decent damage to right out of the gate with fast moves, you have a really good chance with, especially with Bite. But once you get out of those and you go to the Pokemon that either take resisted damage or basically neutral damage from your fast move, you kind of start to lose there. You don't really have the pace to keep up with those other Pokemon. Last but not least, let's actually look into some coverage for Mawile here, still utilizing that 1v1 shield scenario here. Looking at the ghosts, we actually end up beating 3 out of 5 of the available ghost types in the meta. And the ones that we end up losing to are, of course, Alolan Marowak and Dusclops. So both of those are going to be kind of interesting to go up against. Alolan Marowak does have access to Bone Club, which seems to be preferred according to PvPoke. So it does actually get a little bit of super effective damage off if it can get there. It is utilizing Hex and Shadow Ball, if I can remember correctly, which means that it's not going to be like hitting super hard outside of Bone Club is the one that you're really scared of. Dusclops, on the other hand, has Fire Punch, which is also going to be super effective up against us, which just kind of goes to show that's basically what we're losing up against. Even though both of those actually carry the ghost typing, our dark type moves don't really enable us to push enough damage. Bite, while it does do tons of damage, they're going to be just a tad bit faster in actually beating us. Out of the Psychic type Pokemon, we actually end up beating 6 out of 8, which actually ends up meaning that Gallade and Medicham are the 2 that we actually have problems with. Funny enough, both of those are Psychic and Fighting. So the problem there is that our dark type moves basically aren't going to be able to do super effective damage anymore. They're going to do neutral damage, which kind of already puts us at a disadvantage. Gallade having access to a great set of moves, and Medicham also having tons of great moves at his disposal as well, just kind of ends up putting us at an uphill battle up against those 2. In terms of the steel type Pokemon, this is where we really start to get bad. So 1 out of 7. We actually end up having losses, a tie up against ourselves, I'll mention that, but we have losses up against Empoleon, Bastiodon, Probopass, Lucario, and Steelix. So we actually end up in a really bad spot up against the steel types, but that's kind of to be expected considering that they're going to be able to resist a ton of what we have going at them. And last but not least, the fighting types, which is our worst performance yet, 0 out of 7. yeah, we don't beat a single one of the fighting types, which is kind of to be expected considering that we're using Bite, which is going to be resisted by the fighting types anyways. But we lose up against Gallade, Lucario, Toxicroak, Medicham, Hitmonchan, and both variants of the Poliwrath. Here's the case I want to make for Mawile. Mawile actually has a place up against a certain number of Pokemon. Cresselia being one of the top liked Psychic type Pokemon, one of the ones that everybody seems to be chasing. It's got a place in terms of being able to just hardcore beat it. I think that's what Mawile really has going for it. Outside of that, unfortunately, it doesn't have too much. It's basically going up against Cresselia, Lugia, and Haunter that really gives it its footing in this cup. Like I said, outside of that, not really got a whole lot going for it. But that is actually going to be it for Mawile today, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for being patient. I know this has taken me way longer than it should have, but if you want, I'll go ahead and explain what's going on after, you know, I do the intro or outro or whatever. I'll go ahead and play those ending credits for you. Like I said, stick around if you want to hear me ramble and whatever. Thank you guys so much for watching. Always remember that if you like to like videos, you could do that, but if you don't, you could be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what you have to say down in the comments below about the video. I do highly appreciate you guys watching. If you guys want to support me in any way, there are several links down in the description for Patreon, joining the community here on YouTube, or even just directly PayPal if that's your thing. I greatly appreciate everyone's name that's on screen, as you guys have showed some sort of support outside of just viewing the videos, and I thank you guys. You don't understand from the bottom of my heart. So until our next video, guys, I will catch you then. To kind of fill in some gaps on what's been going on. As most of you know, if you're still here, I'm assuming that you at least have been keeping up with what I've been doing on YouTube. Whether you watch it or not, you at least know that it's happening. So Pokemon Masters is a big deal right now for me. I adore it very much, and it's taken me away from Pokemon Go, and it's been a breath of fresh air. I can't lie. It's definitely been a big breath of fresh air that I feel like I have needed for a long time. Pokemon Go was basically the only thing that I did for like, what, 8 or 10 months straight? Because I started doing Pokemon Go August of last year, and Pokemon Masters didn't release until August 29th of... No. Okay, so it was 11 months because it released globally August 29th, whereas I started playing it at the beginning of August. So roughly 11 months, that's all I did. Pokemon Go videos literally every single day. So it was a nice breath of fresh air, and I am trying to hold on to that with every bit of life in me. I'm not gonna lie. I love the breath of fresh air. It's a totally different atmosphere. It's a totally different game. A lot of people hate it, but a lot of people enjoy it still. So it just, I don't know. I can't explain why I like it and make you understand, because you'll either like it or hate it for totally different reasons. So that's number one. As most of you know, that's an easy one. Yes, you've seen that, you've witnessed that. Number two, I graduated at the end of July, which is about the same time that Pokemon Masters really started going for me. And ever since I've graduated, I have been on the job hunt hardcore. I have yet to land a job. I have been ghosted probably close to 100 times. I've been to 2 interviews so far, and one of those ghosted me after the interview. And just this morning, as of recording today, today is, let's see, I'm blind, September 27th. So as of September 27th, I got a second level interview. I don't really know what that means. I don't really know what they're talking about, but basically I'm going back for a second interview, which is good. So the bulk of my time has been taken up by Pokemon Masters, and then we have job hunting as well, putting in applications, literally like 2 or 3 applications a day. I mean, doing anything and everything that I can to try to get a job. And then on top of that, we have my beautiful fiance, who happened to have a car wreck last year. This was last March, so it's been well over a year now. But in the wreck, she actually damaged her right wrist. As of, let's see, it was 3 days before the Sinister Cup was announced, she actually had surgery on her wrist. They cut open her wrist and relocated a tendon that actually goes down through the wrist right here. What that actually means is that her hand is completely unusable. She is not allowed to put any kind of force behind her hand whatsoever. So that means she can't even use that hand to get up. She can't use that hand to open doors. She can't use that hand to use the bathroom. She can't, and that's her dominant hand. So she can't use that hand to shower herself. Like, she literally cannot use it for anything. So that leaves me. I have basically been trying to do everything for her that she can't do. So there's literally like 3 big things that have been taking up like 99% of my time. The other 1% of my time I have been working on personal projects in terms of computer applications. I've been working with machine learning and neural networks and a ton of different stuff, just trying to broaden my aspects in terms of what I know because of the job force that I'm going into. So I've literally been like destroyed in terms of time, and it's really taken away from this. What I plan to do is do a couple of deep dives a week. I cannot go back to doing one every single day. Unfortunately, I just can't. I have to be honest with myself, and I want to be honest with you guys. I can't go back to doing one every single day. What I want to do is try to do maybe like 3 a week once I get rolling, and then kind of fill the other gaps with Pokemon Masters and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Pokemon Masters is, at the moment, it's lacking in some of the content. Remember, I told you guys that it would slow down in that blog or the community post or whatever it's called. I told you that it would slow down, and it's gotten to the point where it is slowing down. Basically, at the beginning of every month, there's this big event, and then throughout the rest of the month, there's these tiny little events, and they basically only yield like 1 or 2 videos per event, unless you're talking about the big event. What that ends up meaning is that it's to the point where it's slow enough now that I can start to break it up and do more deep dives, but I've also been trying to help with my fiance's situation, and I'm still trying to look for a job. So once I get situated, I'd like to do 3 deep dives a week. I really would. The biggest thing that would help from you guys is to go into the Discord and vote, as you guys have already been doing. That's why Mawile was top today. That'll be a big help because it will relieve some stress on me picking which deep dives to do. And then outside of that, it's literally just going to take me like finding time to do them. So I hope that is a decent enough explanation of what's been going on. It's been a wild ride. My fiance's only been out of surgery for 2 weeks now. She just got her stitches taken out. If she'll let me, I'll take a picture of it and put it on the screen right here. But otherwise, she's physical therapy once a week. She's doing all kinds of like exercises and, you know, making sure she gets her full range of motion and all of her abilities back. So it's been pretty wild. But yeah, hopefully you guys kind of understand. Hopefully you're not super upset. I know tons of people left as soon as I jumped on Masters. But I mean, it was the name of the game. And honestly, like, I'm sorry that I stopped doing deep dives, but it was so much more healthy for me to do that than to keep doing deep dives on things that I started to lose interest in so bad. I have to tell you, recording this deep dive, oh my God, it's so much fun. I still enjoy it. I really do. As you notice, the room is a little different, of course. One of the things that I really wanted to do was get my room complete before I started doing deep dives again, but unfortunately with everything else going on, I wasn't able to do everything that I wanted. I still have a couple of more pieces that I want to cram into this room. It'll change again after this. As you notice, I only have 1 whiteboard up. I have an idea that I'm going to change. It'll make the videos a lot more relaxed, but still very informative. So I have all of that coming. It's just I haven't quite gotten there yet. So I'm sorry. I literally have all of the crap that was in my room in boxes. Like, there's 2 of these giant boxes, and I just have all the crap in there because I don't have a place to put it yet. So it's coming, I promise. But until then, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you for understanding. Hopefully you understand. But yeah, so look forward to the update video where I talk about the changes that I made in the room. and look forward to more deep dive videos. Hopefully what I can start doing is doing those next week. That's what I'm trying to shoot for, but like I said, I don't know for 100% when that's gonna happen. Another thing is that my fiance is here literally 24/7 now because she's rode out of work until December. So I have a lot of like things going on around me at the house that I can't just like jump in here and record like I could before. And she's always needing something. Don't get me wrong, I'd do anything for her, but it takes up way more time than I originally expected it to. So that is actually gonna be it. Thank you guys again, and I will catch you guys in the next video.